Flooding is one of the deadly disasters in the world. The damage it causes is not only to property, but also to people. Australia is one of the countries in the world severely affected by floods. Today, let's learn about the terrible flood scene in Australia through the video below. Floods in Australia. It can be understood simply. A flood is a flooding phenomenon. Water flows rapidly with high speed, unexpected nature, is capable of washing away houses, livestock, property and trees, and even threatening human life for a certain period of time. Every year, heavy rains increase, causing haunting floods in many countries, including Australia. It causes extremely serious consequences for the economy, as well as people's lives in the country. Footage captures Sydneysiders suffering terrible torrential downpours that have forced thousands to evacuate and leave their homes. As flood warnings extend across Australia's east coast, with torrential downpours pouring into the country's largest city and flooding several major suburbs. Roads that used to be used by vehicles were submerged in floodwaters, and locals used jet skis, paddleboards and boats as buildings and vehicles were submerged in floodwaters. The Bureau of Meteorological Forecasting, Dean Narramore, said up to 120 millimeters of rain was forecast across Sydney over the next 24 hours. In addition, after the heavy rain, people are worried about strong gusts of wind. Wind gusts can reach more than 90 kilometers an hour, increasing soil erosion, which can lead to many trees falling and endangering more people. Not stopping just one flood, but Australians continue to suffer from many other floods. This is a full view of the flooding in New South Wales. A man died in Sydney after his car was submerged in rising water. Thousands of people were ordered to evacuate. For some, it was the second time in a month that they had to seek refuge because of the flash floods. Rivers burst their banks when an extreme weather system caused record rainfall. The downpours have begun to ease slightly, but water levels in major rivers could surpass their peaks. The Warragamba Dam, Sydney's main water supply, has overflowed and is in danger of bursting. We can see a terrible tragedy unfolding in Australia. Water everywhere. White water flooded the sky. The water rose up to the roof, sweeping away all people's properties. Many city centres were flooded, and houses were swept away, killing at least 13 people. In addition, phone service and the internet were cut off, and outside help was not accessible for several days. It's heartbreaking to see these scenes. It is known that Australia has been affected by climate change, with drought, deadly wildfires, coral bleaching in the Great Barrier Reef, and floods becoming more common and intense as global warming patterns changed. The floodwater roared through the streets. People tried to cling to tree branches and iron fences to escape, and houses were swept away. This was a horrifying image when the flood suddenly hit Toowoomba City in Queensland. At least 72 people were missing, and 8 people were found dead. Rescue teams struggled to cope with a series of calls for help. State Chief Anna Bligh called the flash floods the darkest hour in Queensland. Since the flood disaster began, persistent floods have washed away roads and railways, destroyed crops, and brought the state's coal industry to a near standstill. Severe weather and widespread flooding in Queensland and New South Wales are expected to become one of the costliest natural disasters in Australia's history, with losses expected to reach nearly 2 billion Australian dollars. At least 21 people have died and more than 60,000 are being evacuated. Hundreds of schools were closed, and people were asked to limit all movement in the event of an emergency. Scientists also believe that climate change causes floods, wildfires, storms and droughts in Australia more frequently and more severely. Temperatures in Australia are rising faster than the world average. with high temperatures causing the atmosphere to accumulate more moisture and causing rain to become increasingly extreme. Because natural disasters occur irregularly, abnormally, fiercely, and as extreme as this terrible flood, Australians need to always monitor and update with information relating to floods, strengthening houses, actively evacuating unsafe houses, and stocking up on food and necessary items. When there is a flood warning, they should immediately evacuate to a safe shelter area. It can be said that the consequences of floods in Australia that everyone can see are that people's lives are severely damaged, causing great loss of life and property. Accordingly, nature is also seriously damaged. Today's video ends here. We hope this video will help you understand more about the floods in Australia. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the articles to support us. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.